moved, suddenly a voice came, and the attention of all the monsters went towards that voice. The monster looked carefully into the crowd, and suddenly, he dropped his weapon. Actually, some time ago, Jack had received some magical beans with the help of a priest. But as soon as his girlfriend, who was a princess, came to meet Jack, just then, one of those beans came in contact with water and started growing rapidly. Because of this, suddenly the entire wooden house started shaking violently, and strange, scary sounds started coming from below. Both of them were so scared that they could not even move from there, and just then suddenly the ground cracked open and a giant beanstalk shot up towards the sky, tearing through the house. Seeing this, the princess immediately tried to run away, but just then a table fell on top of her. Jack moved forward to save her, but just then the vines tossed him out of the house. At that very moment, a wooden door suddenly opened, and the princess saw a way out. But as soon as she started running outside, at the same time the vine suddenly closed the door. The princess started trying to open the door, but the door did not move at all. Seeing this, Jack immediately picked up an axe to cut the vines. But just then, suddenly the entire house started rising towards the sky along with its roots. At the very last moment, Jack jumped and grabbed the edge. But the vines were growing so rapidly that within just a few seconds, the house reached thousands of meters high. Jack started cutting the vine with the axe with full force. As soon as the vine broke, the princess immediately opened the door. But the very next moment, the wooden floor beneath his feet broke, and despite holding on with his hands, he started falling from a height of 10,000 meters. Jack started sliding down the magical vines towards the ground, but on the way, the vines slowed down his speed a little, and finally he fell on the ground and became unconscious. But the princess was not so lucky, because the vine carried her along with it to the other side of the sky. The next morning, Jack woke up startled and saw that the king was standing in front of him, who was searching for the princess. Seeing this, Jack got terrified, and out of compulsion he told the entire matter to the king. When Jack pointed towards the sky, just then everyone saw that a giant beanstalk was rising straight up, tearing through the sky. As soon as the king came to know the truth, without wasting a moment, he sent a troop of soldiers along with Jack to rescue the princess. Soon all of them, climbing up with the support of that beanstalk, reached beyond the clouds. Then the captain went ahead and started sliding from one side to the other because that was the only way to reach the princess. Out of compulsion, Jack took off his belt and prepared himself. But just as he was thinking of moving forward, just then the curly-haired man standing nearby kicked him hard and pushed him forward. Seeing such a great height, Jack's condition got worse, and while sliding midway, his hands suddenly slipped and he fell straight down, but luckily, midway, the vines caught hold of him. As soon as he came back to his senses, without stopping, he started climbing up again. As soon as they reached high up, the weather got completely worse. There was a strong storm and crackling lightning all around. Just then, suddenly a strong bolt of lightning struck directly on a soldier, because of which he slipped, and the rest of the soldiers got hit by him and started falling down. But at the last moment, one soldier grabbed the rope tightly, because of which the lives of the others were somehow saved. But the soldiers who had fallen below were now hanging in the air. If they were not pulled up immediately, the entire team could be in danger. Just then, Roderick said to his companion standing nearby to cut the rope. That man liked the idea and immediately pulled out a hidden knife from his foot. The soldiers hanging below started begging him not to do so, but without showing any mercy, he cut the rope and the hanging soldiers fell from a height of 10,000 feet. Somehow, the remaining soldiers reached the top, and by then, morning had also arrived. As soon as Jack turned around and looked, he was completely stunned, because above the clouds an enormous world existed, and seeing this sight, everyone started moving towards that side. Just then, the captain noticed fresh footprints on the ground, from which he guessed that the princess had not gone down, but was somewhere here. And when everyone came out of the cave, just then seeing the sight in front of him, the captain was stunned, because this world was much bigger than expected. All the people moved forward and started inspecting the area. Just then their eyes fell on the branches of the trees. They found the marks left there by the princess. During the same time, Jack also found that same book on the ground which he had given to the princess. Just then, their eyes fell on the broken branches, and from this they guessed that some dangerous creature had picked up the princess and taken her away. After this, all the people split into 2 teams and went out in different directions in search of the princess. On the way, Jack and his companion reached near a river where they saw a herd of fat, juicy sheep. Being hungry for many days, they thought of cooking 1 sheep, but as soon as they tried to catch the sheep, just then, by mistake, the trap set nearby got activated. Jack immediately took out his knife and started cutting the net with full force. On the other side, the captain too was trying to cut the rope, but just then his eyes fell on a strange thing. All the crows nearby suddenly flew away in panic, and all the sheep too started running together in the other direction. The captain got a bit suspicious, but still he kept cutting the rope, and somehow both of them got out of the trap. But just then, a scary voice echoed from the jungle, and at that very moment, a giant monster came in front of them and grabbed both the soldiers and took them away with him. Jack quietly started following behind the monster, so that getting the right opportunity along with his companions, he could also save the princess. On the other side, Roderick, along with the 2 soldiers, reached the edge of a cliff. The bald man felt that searching like this was useless, and he started moving forward to find some other way. But just then Roderick made his move. "Hey, look, there's Isabelle." As soon as the bald man turned back and came near the cliff, just then Roderick, taking advantage of the opportunity, pushed him straight down into the deep ravine. Seeing this, Roderick's friends started laughing loudly. Just then a huge hand suddenly grabbed him. At that very moment, from behind, another monster as big as a mountain came in front of him. Out of fear, Roderick fell down right there on the ground and started searching frantically for something in his bag. But as soon as the monster started extending its hand to grab him, at that very moment Roderick pulled out a shining crown. As soon as the monsters saw the crown, they froze right there, as if some invisible force had bound them. Actually, this was a magical crown, and whoever had this powerful crown in their hand, the monsters would be forced to obey their every word. Meanwhile, Jack, while following the monster, reached up to their hideout, and seeing the sight there, he was stunned, because all around there were beautiful waterfalls and tall mountains, which looked nothing less than heaven. There itself, the 2-headed monster had imprisoned the princess in a cage. Then he took her to the rest of the monsters, where all the monsters gathered together and started looking towards her. Just then, that same monster also returned, who had captured the captain and that fat soldier. He brought the 2 of them and threw them near the cage. Seeing this, the 2-headed monster suspected that perhaps more humans were present here. Therefore, he picked up a fat soldier lying on the ground, and twisting his neck, swallowed him alive. After this, the monster spat out his armor. But as soon as that monster started threatening the captain that he would eat the princess too, just then a voice came from nearby, which drew everyone's attention to itself. Actually, that voice was not anyone else's, but that of the same traitor, Roderick. As soon as they saw the crown worn on his head, all the rest of the monsters immediately bent down on their knees, and at that very moment, his real plan came out in front of everyone. He went straight in front of the 2-headed monster and ordered him to come down on his knees. Seeing the crown on his head, the 2-headed monster bent down out of compulsion, and then Roderick, placing his foot on his face, slowly walking, moved towards the throne. And from that very moment, Roderick became the new king of the world of monsters. He declared that he would attack humans and conquer the entire world. Hearing his words, the monster army got extremely happy, but something else was going on in the mind of the 2-headed monster. On the other side, the monster, in order to cook the captain, picked him up and threw him directly onto a sticky dough. The more he struggled, the more he got stuck in it. Just then the monster came forward and slammed a fistful of flour on top of the captain. After this, the monster did a very disgusting act. The monster bent the captain and placed him on one side. After preparation, only adding the vegetables remained. As soon as he went to get the vegetables, at that very time, Jack quietly arrived there. Seeing Jack, the princess became extremely happy, but she immediately gestured to him to stay quiet. On the other side, the monster was still busy, and meanwhile Jack slowly reached near the princess. He tried to open the lock of the cage, but this was not in his capacity. Then the princess told him to first save the captain, whom the monster had placed in a line with the pigs. Jack immediately reached near him, and taking out the knife, started separating him from that sticky dough. At the same time, the monster started returning with the spices. Seeing this, Jack quickly handed the knife to the captain. The monster did not get any suspicion. He picked up some sharp wooden sticks, and right in front of the captain's eyes, thrust them into the pig lying nearby. The pig, which was screaming till now, immediately became silent. Now it was the captain's turn next. The monster, without showing any mercy, struck a blow, but he missed slightly. Otherwise, the future generations of the captain would have been wiped out without a trace. Then the monster picked all of them up and placed them inside the burning oven nearby. Now the only one left to save them was Jack. At this time, Jack had already reached on top of an iron ring, and the monster had no clue about him at all. Just then the monster picked up a sharp-edged knife and went straight towards the princess. Without delay, putting his hand inside, he pulled the princess out and placing her on the table, started preparing to cut her. But just then, Jack quietly picked up a heavy knife placed nearby. The unaware monster was just about to strike the princess. Just then, Jack thrust the knife straight into his spine. Out of pain, the monster started screaming loudly, but Jack kept holding the knife tightly. Just then, the monster, losing control, crashed into the wall and was killed right there. Seeing this, both the princess and the captain were stunned. After this, the three of them immediately reached near that magical beanstalk, but there, a monster, sent by Roderick, was already standing on guard. Just then, a strange idea came to Jack's mind. He, taking a beehive, slowly, along with the captain, reached near that monster. Then the captain lifted the monster's helmet, and Jack threw the hive inside it. The monster was still sleeping carefree, and he had no idea at all what was about to happen with him. As soon as Jack placed the hive inside, just then the captain immediately closed the helmet, and then both of them quickly ran from there and hid behind the rock nearby and started waiting. Within a short while, the monster, writhing from the bee stings, stood up and started shaking his body in pain. But the more he writhed, the more the bees were attacking him. Panicking, the monster started running from there, but slipped and crashed into the rocks, and then he, rolling, reached the edge of the cliff. It seemed as if he was about to fall now. Just then, suddenly he took off his helmet. Seeing this, all three of them were stunned for a moment. But just then, a bee came flying directly towards him, and the very next moment it stung the monster hard, because of which he lost control and fell straight down. Seeing this, all three people leapt with joy. They could not believe that they had defeated such a huge monster so easily. After this, all three of them immediately decided to leave from there, but suddenly the captain stopped. He told that he had to stay back here in order to snatch the crown from Roderick. So Jack, handing him the knife, started climbing down, along with the princess. At the same time, the monster, after crashing into the vines, finally fell down. Hearing the loud sound, the king immediately came out of his tent, and seeing this dangerous monster, he got panicked. Suddenly, the people of the village also gathered there. Just then, the king, even though he did not want to, took a big decision for the welfare of the subjects and to stop the monsters from coming here. He immediately ordered the general to cut down the beanstalk. The soldiers drove huge iron nails into that big beanstalk. Then they put strong hooks on them, and with the help of some bulls and horses, started pulling it. Slowly, that giant beanstalk, along with its roots, started shaking. But because of this, the soldiers standing nearby suddenly came into danger. Just then, suddenly the thick beanstalk in the middle also started breaking. The soldiers standing on top started falling down, due to which chaos broke out all around. Meanwhile, Jack and the princess were climbing down with the support of the beanstalk. But as soon as they looked down, they got terrified, because the beanstalk had become uncontrollable and could fall at any moment. At the same time, Jack, seeing the opportunity, held the princess tightly and quickly grabbed a hanging branch. Both of them, swinging in the air, started moving rapidly downwards. Finally, when they fell down, a heap of grass reduced their speed, and in this way both of them reached the ground, safe and sound. At that very moment, Roderick gathered all the monsters and prepared to attack the humans. Just then, the two-headed monster sensed the presence of a human, due to which the captain hid himself. Just then, Roderick, moving forward, took out the magical beans, which grow beanstalks. But just then, suddenly, the captain pounced on him, due to which the magical beans were left right there on the rock, and Roderick fell straight down into a pit. Out of fear, Roderick started calling out to the monsters, while the captain stood ready in front of him to fight. Just then, the two-headed monster ordered the rest of the monsters to pull him out. The monsters started breaking the rocks, and below, a fight started between the captain and Roderick. Roderick, with the support of his long sword, knocked down the captain, and his weapon fell far away. After this, getting the chance, he started attacking continuously, but the captain somehow blocked his strike, and a fight of strength started between the two. Soon the captain started getting weaker, and Roderick dunked him into the water. Just then suddenly his eyes fell on that knife, which was floating towards him. The captain, at the right moment, grabbed it with his teeth and immediately struck Roderick on the face. Due to the sudden attack, Roderick's anger burst out. He, on the strength of his weapon, pushed the captain back. The captain kept retreating and finally reached the edge. Just then, Roderick, with a powerful kick, knocked him down. But the captain somehow grabbed hold of the rocks. Roderick started poking the sword into his hands so that he himself would fall down. But he had underestimated the captain's strength. As soon as he started attacking again, the captain, grabbing his own weapon, thrust it into his leg. Out of pain, Roderick started screaming loudly, and taking advantage of this opportunity, the captain thrust the sword into Roderick's stomach. Because of the sudden attack, Roderick gave up his life right there. As soon as he died, the magical power of the crown also ended. The captain somehow climbed up and moved forward to take back the crown, but just then the cave above broke, and the two-headed monster picked up the crown even before him. He put the crown on his finger and declared himself the new king. As soon as he wore the crown, his power returned again. Seeing this, the rest of the monsters too bent their knees. Just then, the captain saw that the only beanstalk going back to the earth could now break and fall down at any moment. Therefore, without delay, he leapt straight onto the beanstalk. The beanstalk started moving rapidly towards the fort. The captain took advantage of the right moment, and leaping, jumped straight into the water. When the two-headed monster saw that the way to the world of humans had been broken, he roared with anger. Just then, suddenly, the smaller head pointed towards that pouch lying on the ground in which the magical beans were filled. The two-headed monster picked it up and opened it in his hand. There were a total of 4 magical beans in it. Seeing this, he leapt with joy. He immediately, with a single blow, threw those beans into the water. As soon as the beans hit the water, they immediately started growing, and the very next moment, 4 giant beanstalks emerged, tearing through the ground. After this, the two-headed monster gave a loud order, and all the monsters, climbing onto that beanstalk, started moving towards the world of humans. At the last moment, the two-headed monster also leapt down. He, sliding through the vines, started moving towards the ground. At the same time, Jack was making the horse drink water. Just then, suddenly his eyes went towards the sky. He saw that all the monsters were rapidly moving downwards. Without wasting a moment, he, mounting the horse, set out to warn the king. On the other side, the king's army was casually advancing towards the fort. Just then, Jack's eyes fell on the army. He started shouting loudly that the monsters are coming, but the king still did not understand anything. Just then, from the jungle behind, suddenly many monsters emerged, and wherever they were going, they were destroying everything. No one was able to stop them. Soon the monster army came near, and they grabbed a soldier and swallowed him alive. Even the people riding on horses could not escape from their speed. At this time, humans were completely helpless in front of them. Just then, a round-faced monster broke off the blade of a windmill nearby and threw it towards the princess, which, as soon as it fell on the ground, shattered everything, and the king's crown also fell down. On the other side, the soldiers stationed at the fort saw the king's army coming, and they immediately sent the news of war preparation inside. The captain immediately, with the help of all the soldiers, had oil poured into the moat so that the enemies could be stopped. As soon as the king's army reached near the fort, he gave the order to fire arrows, and within seconds, hundreds of burning arrows were released towards the enemies. As soon as these arrows struck the oil, fire burst out all around, and meanwhile the king's army safely reached inside the fort. Seeing the princess safe and sound, the captain immediately gave the order to close the doors of the fort, but at the same time, Jack was still outside, and the monsters were chasing him. As soon as the door of the fort started closing, just then Jack got panicked, but at the last moment, along with his horse, he, leaping, came inside. However, behind him, the two-headed monster also climbed up the door, but just then the captain attacked him, and he fell straight into the burning flames of fire. Soon the fire completely surrounded him, but the surprising thing was that even his own people did not come to save him, but just stood there and kept watching him burn. Meanwhile, the people were still talking among themselves, when suddenly from the sky a big iron bell came rapidly towards the fort. It demolished the wall and fell straight down. Before anyone could understand anything, suddenly the bugle of war sounded. Just then 2 big iron hooks were thrown towards the door of the fort, which the monsters started pulling with strength. Just then, a tug-of-war started between the humans and the monsters. Actually, all this was the plan of the round-faced monster, who, by calling more monsters, gave the order to break the door of the fort. The atmosphere inside completely turned into chaos. The princess, taking Jack along, ran towards the inside of the fort. On the other side, the old king ordered all the soldiers to use the crossbows to stop the monsters. Soon more monsters arrived, and they started pulling with all their strength. Just then, on the captain's order, the soldiers released several crossbows, which struck directly on the wooden door. As soon as the precise aim hit, the soldiers immediately started pulling the crossbow carts back. The fort's army got divided into groups, and the king too came forward to help. He was just asking the captain about the weakness of the monsters, when just then, from the sky, a burning tree fell, which scattered the soldiers apart. The very next moment, several burning trees started falling on top of the soldiers, because of which their grip started loosening. It seemed as if the door would soon break. Just then, the princess, taking Jack along, reached inside the fort, but suddenly a heavy roar and cracks flying through the ground caught their attention. Out of fear, both of them stepped back, and some stones started flying upwards. Suddenly, from below, 2 giant hands came out. This was the same two-headed monster who had earlier survived despite falling into the fire, because being under the water, the fire could not harm him in any way, and he, through the way of the sewer, quietly entered inside the fort. Suddenly, he sensed the royal scent of the princess. Jack, in fear, opened the blanket and saw that the monster's gaze had not yet fallen on them. But just then, in anger, the monster broke the mirror placed nearby. In panic, both the people hidden in the blanket started trembling, but the monster looked directly at them from above. Jack, putting in all his strength, immediately grabbed the princess and ran. but the monster kept following them continuously. Having no other way, both of them, out of compulsion, ran towards the second floor. They did not even have the courage to stop their footsteps. But suddenly a hand came out from the side and grabbed the princess. Jack picked up the axe lying nearby and without delay attacked it directly, but the monster grabbed him with the other hand. The smaller head started mocking Jack. Just then, Jack, in anger, directly struck with the axe and broke its helmet. In anger, the monster opened its big mouth. Just then, Jack took out the magical bean hidden inside the locket and threw it straight into his mouth. The magical bean went straight into his stomach, due to which the two-headed monster suddenly felt that something was wrong, and he immediately slammed both of them down to the ground. Just then, suddenly a vine came out of his body, and both of them stepped back in fear. Suddenly, several vines, at full speed, came out tearing his body apart, due to which the hall got completely destroyed. Suddenly, the king's hand, wearing the crown, also fell near Jack. On the other side, the outside soldiers were still busy stopping the monsters. But on a single voice of the round-mouthed monster, all the monsters slowly moved back and started knocking down the soldiers one by one. The door of the fort slowly opened. The captain immediately asked the soldiers to close the iron door. At that very moment, the round-mouthed monster, along with his companions, slowly came out from the mist. But the iron door could not stop him for long, and he, in just a single jolt, broke the door. Just then, that monster, along with his companions, entered inside the fort. Seeing the tasty soldiers standing there, they got extremely happy. The monsters were just about to attack, when from behind suddenly a voice came, and the attention of all the monsters went towards that voice. The monster looked carefully into the crowd, and suddenly, he dropped his weapon. Seeing this, the rest of the monsters too dropped their weapons and sat down on their knees in front of all the humans.